Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kodash. Double honors unto the elder apostles, the great millstone, who rule well. And shalom to the hopeful elect. First Samuel, chapter 8, verse 1. It came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre and took bribes and perverted judgment. Right, so this really shows you this is something we know and understand. All right, just because you come from the lines of a man that's in highly revered by the Heavenly Father, that doesn't automatically mean that you know or the children that come from that man are going to be righteous just like that man. This is you know spirits that are being presented forward in the stead appointed by the Heavenly Father. As it tells you in the book of First Corinthians, it says the spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets, and that's why I prophesied unto many a man, many of the choice spirits of the Heavenly Father, whether it be John the Revelator, Daniel, all right, or Elijah, all right, that they will come back again, all right, and even us, all right, because Paul prophesied that in the book of Thessalonians, in the epistle of to the Thessalonians, of basically there being a falling away first, all right, and then the son man of sin being revealed, falling away happening, or the that may be the I may have butchered it a little bit, but the point being is that we had to fall away first to come back onto the Heavenly Father. And that really shows you that, the Heavenly Father has it as he may. According to, Jeremiah also speaks about it where it prophesied they will take one out of a sea and two out of family. All right. That's why you have siblings in the truth. Or you have, individuals that come out of the same city, so on and so forth. All right. But to this point, it really shows you that, this the same thing that happened with Elijah happened with Samuel. But and it shows you how if you're not fit for the role, you'll be enticed by the left hand side, all right? Filthy lucre, taking bribes and perverting judgment. Where this role is, a role like that is solely based upon morality, all right? And dealing with and faith ultimately, having faith in the Heavenly Father. Because if you don't have faith, you basically think the Heavenly Father is not seeing what you're doing, all right? And that's not your concern. Verse 4. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. Right. So this is a crazy thing because the elders they would have known. I don't know what kind of framing would have took over their mind. It could have been a myriad of things. They could have said, "Oh, we've had judges all these different generations, and none of it worked. And now let's have a king like the heathens." Or just simple and plain as it said, they just want to be like the other nations, all right, and have a king ruling over them, all right. But the thing that's for sure, all right, one thing for sure, and two things for certain, is that this was the fulfillment of prophecy. All right, it's something that was prophesied of in the book of Deuteronomy that basically in the law it said when you appoint a king over you, that he should be of your kindred, all right, and they're kin unto you, and you're not meant to raise up a king of another nation to rule over you. And I mean, that's the only thing you could look at this statement and take in regard for righteousness. In that they're now asked, they didn't say they wanted a king of the other nations. They said they wanted a king of their own nation. and they basically, trusted in Samuel to find them a king to rule over them, since they trust his judgment and they could see that his sons were not leading accordingly. All right, verse 6. But the but the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." And Samuel prayed unto the Lord Yahweh. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Right? Because the Heavenly Father is the true king over the children of Israel. When you go into the book of Isaiah 44, it tells you that the Heavenly Father is the king over the nation of Israel. All right? He was the true ruler over the nation. And in that sense, that's why when we was appointed the land, and even, well, I'll say this preferably, when you go through the book of Judges, it speaks of the judges reigning or the judges, falling, or whatever context it is. But it said there was no king in that day, or there was no ruler in that day. I can't remember it verbatim, but it said that everyone did what they what they saw fit in their own eyes, basically showing you that there was a level of dominion that you had within your own self, and really that space and that lifestyle being extended onto our forefathers really showed the need for a king. All right, because someone to whip you into shape, because ultimately from the establishing of the nation, you had there was a king there anyway. Moses was elected a king, all right, in Jeshurun, as it tells you in the book of Deuteronomy, all right. And then you had various different rulers that were known as judges to basically keep Israel in shape, all right, and make sure that they did things according to the Heavenly Father. Because anytime they were left to their own devices, what wound up happening? The curses kicked in, all right. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. All right, so this was the Lord was basically comforting Samuel, because this saying displeased him. All right, they they basically he didn't like what they were saying, and the Most High basically took everything that was said and said, look, this ain't nothing to do with you. This is them rejecting me. And this is something they've done from the beginning. From the time we went into Egypt and came out, whilst we was in the process of being delivered, there was a golden calf made unto the children of Israel to make them, comfort them in their distress, in which they shouldn't have really had any, in that of the great exodus that we had from the Egypt. All right, but that shows you that really, and we can get delved deeper into salvation in that point, because this is why having a law, and really, actually, this is the best allegory of it all. When Moses came down from the mount, I can't remember which mount it was actually. Um, uh, Mount Sinai. I thought it was Mount Sinai. I think it is another mount. When he came down from Mount Sinai, if I'm incorrect, look, it's lucky. All right. But when he came down from Mount Sinai, uh, he broke the first set of the tablet of the law, the tablets of stone of the law, and then the second one came down, really showing you that the first was, wasn't, a befitting one unto the children of Israel, not because the law was wrong, but because of us being in the flesh. All right, we're basically set up to um, not be on point. Okay, so verse 9. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord Yahweh unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. All right. And this is really, as we're going to read on, you're going to see that it speaks to the sovereignty that they once had, because every man had a land appointed unto him, and then through his progeny, all right, his children, they'll basically inherit the land, and mainly the sons, they would inherit the land and continue to inherit it. And then they would have servants, slaves. They'll have different. They'll build their own house. But now, what's as we're gonna read on, you can see that now that sovereignty that you have, within your own land, of being sovereign, quote unquote, sovereign in your own right under the law, with the Most High being your king. The only obligation you had is to give the Levites, the priests, 10% because they don't have a place to abode. All right, but aside from that, a tax you could say. Aside from that, you know, everything was yours. Now, because you have a king, you basically have to, sustain that king. You have to maintain it. All right. So this showing you that they've asked for a yoke to be placed, a greater yoke to be placed on them. All right, and really, it's through the spirit, but they were just trying to be like the other nations. Verse 11, and he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots, and he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to air his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, to be cooks, and to be bakers. So even your daughters are going to be fair game as well. All right. So when you really go into the law to really show a point, when a man has a daughter, all right, any word that she says, if she's still in her father's house, sorry, any vow that she makes, if she's still in her father's house, her father is allowed to annul or basically not uh, sanctify that vow. All right. And then if she moves out of her father's house, she'll basically be under her husband. But now, more so for the point of the father, your daughter now could be, the king could see her and just say, yeah, she has a skill for sewing, or she has this skill for cooking. And then he's going to just take her and amalgamate her into his kingdom. All right. So all of those good things those goodly things that you would have enjoyed of your own volition, now they're free game. It's free game for the kingdom. All right. Verse 14. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. There you go. That land mass you had now the king is going to come along and take it. And he will take the tenth of your seed and your vineyards and give to his officers and to his servants further taxes. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your asses and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. So now you have an example of this, whereby this yoke, all right, they didn't really understand what they're walking into. When you basically had um when you had Rehoboam taking over the kingdom, all right, of Solomon. And when he went to the wise men, they basically said like, yo, the way you can win the people is if you say you'll make the yoke that your father put on them, being Solomon, a lighter burden. All right, that would be how you'd win all of the nation onto you. But he went to the young men and they told him, the opposite. So what he wind up doing is he wind up saying that, My little finger shall be heavier than my father's loins, saying that basically he was going to apply even more pressure than what he was doing, than what Solomon was doing before. So that really the what led to his downfall and the prophecy being fulfilled as far as dividing the kingdom into the kingdom of uh, Israel into the kingdom of Judah and Israel. All right. But that shows you that this is what they did. That shows you they didn't really understand what they're getting into. All right. But ultimately, this is all by design because it told you in the book of Genesis 49 and 10 that the scepter shall not depart until Shiloh come. This had to be established for the lineage of kings to be established so that Yahweh Shai could sit in his rightful throne of rulership, being the king of kings over the whole earth. All right. King David, so on and so forth. Solomon being hit with many stripes. All of these things had to happen to bring about this prophecy. All right. Verse 19. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. And mind you, this is the elders that gathered around Samuel to say this. So this really shows you it was heavy in the spirit. All right, that this wanted to that the Heavenly Father brought this about. Verse 21, and Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord Jehovah. And the Lord Jehovah said to Samuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, Go ye every man unto his city. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Shalom.